What is up, Rotogrinders? Dean here, Dean79904. Wow, that is breaking news, TJ. This is a basketball show, 9-game slate. The Mariners got the Mr. Steal Your Girl, Jesse Winker, the flirter.
Jesse Winker.
All right.
Listen, please stop talking about baseball. You're going to get me too excited. I'm already hyped for this show anyway. As I abruptly cut you off in the middle of your intro, Dean, I'm sorry. I'm so excited about baseball, though, along with tonight's NBA slate. But, yeah, all right, Dean, back to your regularly scheduled intro.
Hey, since we brought up baseball, and we'll talk about basketball in a second, of course. Hopefully everybody there Monday is doing well. We'll introduce you guys in a second. We have, of course, content for baseball here at Rotogrinders.com. If you want just baseball exclusive content, you're getting a discount as of right now if you order right now. And actually, I think the description will be in the YouTube description, but the link will be there to kind of hit it up. Of course, you can go to Rotogrinders.com as well, but $250 is the cost for baseball for the entire season. Now, I'm fairly certain, unless something has changed, I'm not aware of it, but like the combo package, baseball, basketball, football, all that stuff is inclusive. So combo is combo, and it includes every single sport with the exception of NASCAR. But if for whatever reason you want baseball a la carte, you just want to play some MLB, you can get it now at a discounted rate, early bird rate, $250. And that link again in the YouTube description. What up, YouTube? Hit that like button, do subscribe, do turn on those notifications. We appreciate all that good stuff. Or just go to Rotogrinders.com. I believe that's the current banner right now on Rotogrinders. Will, how are things in your world? You said you're excited about this slate. It's funny because, man, I was probably complaining to TJ about I hate the Clippers, and the Clippers are a team that's going to be really, really hard to get away from. And we'll talk about them because there's a bunch of dudes out. But why are you? I know you like any slate's a good slate to you, and that's probably where you're at. But I want to ignore the Clippers, and I can't.
Yeah, I think there's some good games here that you might be able to incorporate around some of the Clipper value. And I almost wish we could just start this slate in reverse. I think the Raptors-Lakers game is huge. I think the Bulls-Sacramento game is huge. I think the Minnesota-Spurs game is huge. I think the Charlotte Thunder game is huge. I mean, there's so many good games on this slate. I'm going to ignore Portland and Atlanta because, guys, it's like a JV team. I know they kept up with Minnesota or Washington, whoever they were playing the other night, but that game is not as appealing. But overall, I mean, this slate is power-packed, Dean. I mean, the punch of power as you get closer to the end of this slate, Charlotte OKC, Minnesota Spurs, Bulls Kings. I mean, heck, even Bucks Jazz is going to be intriguing because it should be competitive and we can finally play Giannis for a change and actually probably have an upside game. This slate has a plethora, a bevy of riches are in this slate, and it really has nothing to do with the Clippers for me.
If you will.
Yes, I like it. Nothing to do with the Clippers. It's got everything to do with the games that are 8 o'clock through 10:30 for me. I'm pumped. This is good. This is a good slate.
The Clippers are how you pay for those guys, which is the annoying part.
No, but that's what I'm saying, Dean. I'm saying the Clippers are the conduit to all these other good games, right?
I was going to use plethora, by the way. You're doing that P. I was going to kind of run with that. You kind of ran back to it, but yeah, it reminds me of that awesome scene from V for Vendetta with all the V's. I'm sure TJ, come on, TJ. I'm going to guess you're a V for Vendetta guy.
I've seen it. I'm not a V for Vendetta guy, but I've seen it.
Oh, geez. Really? You didn't like it? Yeah.
I was pretty young when I saw it, and it's just nothing I've ever gone back to.
See it again. It's worth going back to, and it's still relevant in 2022.
Okay.
It's worth seeing.
We'll do.
Yeah.
We'll
it's,
do.
It's a fun movie. It's based on the comic book world. I shouldn't just assume you like any comic book movie. It's probably wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's based on a comic book, V for Vendetta.
I mean, you can't assume that I'll like it, but you can definitely assume I'll give it a shot.
There you go. You've trashed it on your podcast or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
TJ, what do you think of this slate tonight? Of course, we'll talk about the Clippers in a second. Only one 7 o'clock game. That is the Clippers. They're without Covington and Reggie Jackson and Marcus Morris. We know there's no Kawhi, there's no Paul George, there's no Norman Powell. But the main ones, I guess, is Morris and Arjax kind of opening stuff up. And it's not just minutes being opened up. It's just some guys are really, really cheap there too. So if you're running some optimals, and I ran a couple before the show, and I'll hit update and kind of see, but Yeah, the very first one I ran on DK has 4 Clippers in it. Good Lord. I think I'm going to cap that at 3 for my lineups. We'll see. As far as FanDuel, I'll get back to you. We'll figure it out. But yeah, what is your general thought as far as this slate before we kind of dive in? Like Will was saying, there are some excellent games, DFS games. Big old number. Milwaukee and Utah, 2 teams that are not as good defensively as you may think they are, as they're advertised. 232 total speaks to that. Chicago, Sacramento. I know Chicago got Caruso back, but yeah, 2 rough defensive teams. 235 is a total in that game. 241 Minnesota, San Antonio, Charlotte, OKC 230. So Will's on it. Like, there's a lot of fun games there, and like, but the problem is the conduit is potentially the Clippers. Maybe that's a problem just for me. You tell me.
The conduit Clippers.
Yeah, TJ, what do you have before we kind of dive in and break it down game by game? Plenty of time to knock it all out, but I want an overview from you first.
You know, we have a powerful plethora of potential players at their peaks we can pick tonight. And
place
looking forward to it.
In your placards.
Yes, exactly. And hopefully we can end the night with some plaques and some prizes tonight and win some money.
For your pockets. For your pockets.
Phenomenal is a P too. Go ahead.
Some pesos para tu pockets.
Exactly. So yeah, this is gonna be a fun one tonight. I'm gonna be all over social media anyways, because I'm in the Marvel Madness Final Four today. So I'm going to be lobbying for votes and all over my Twitter. So I'm going to be peeking very
close. Who's in the Final Four? I'm assuming it's like best Marvel character. Is that what's going on?
So we did a draft and of just like every character that's ever appeared in an MCU Marvel movie with 16 of us, and a March Madness style bracket where basically like you have 2 teams go head to heads for fights, and the fans got to vote on it. So yeah, head over to my Twitter. We're doing that. But
what's the Final Four?
It's myself, another Agents of Fandom co-host, and then 2 rival podcasts are in the other bracket. So
I was thinking it was the characters that was in the matchups. I thought it was gonna be like,
we drafted the teams, and so I got some Eternals, some fun guys. It's good, but then we're talking basketball now, anyways.
Okay, go ahead.
The other reason it's good, I'm gonna be glued to Twitter, like I was gonna say, is this Minnesota game is so interesting. This Minnesota San Antonio game, highest total on the slate. Minnesota has the highest team total on the slate, and we have so many guys out and so many guys still questionable, with guys like Naz Reid, Patrick Beverley, Jordan McLaughlin. Maybe they don't seem like big deals, but with Vanderbilt already out, Reid could be a big one because they'll have no backups for big men. And the McLaughlin and Beverly ones are both big too, because then they're limited at the guard position. So definitely be keeping your eye on that one for some late swap options. That one's an hour and a half after lock. And because it's going to be a key game tonight, as well as your Dean's favorite team, the Clippers.
It's a miracle. All the Spurs that were out last game with their mystery injuries are all back. Look at that. They're all healthy. Everybody's cured. Like Pop, we know what you're doing, man. Just like they actually gave Keldon Johnson rest, but like they made up a back for Pearl. Murray got a calf for whatever reason. They're not all back, and McDermott actually got hurt in that last game. But yeah, all right, we'll break it down game by game. And by the way, I ran some optimals on FanDuel, and very first lineup, just 3 Clippers. 3, 3, 4. Oh, so it's 3 or 4 Clippers. Well, let's talk about it. Let's talk about why the Clippers are popping. It's not a great matchup here against Cleveland. Obviously, 213 is a total. Clippers are 8-point dogs. But again, they're very thin on bodies. The big ones, of course, Reggie Jackson, a big usage guy, not playing. Marcus Morris, one of the bigger usage guy, is not playing as well. Bobby Covington is still out for personal reasons. This is the back half of a back-to-back. For the record, other back-to-backs tonight that we're monitoring are just kind of out there. Philadelphia, Atlanta, OKC, and the Lakers. I believe nobody is in the front end of a back-to-back. As far as Cleveland, there's actually a chance we get Karis LeVert back tonight. Lauri Markkanen is questionable with his ankle. Dean Wade also has a knee, so he's questionable. Rondo is out with his ankle for what it's worth. But yeah, Will, or who wants the Clippers? I don't want to break them down. TJ, do you want the Clippers? Do you want to talk about them? You want to open it up?
So yeah, I'll open it up with them because I don't actually think we have to talk about them for too long until we get a starting lineup. This might be one that maybe we want to revisit at the end of the show if we get a set of starters, but that's going to be a really big deal because guys like Brandon Boston right now are absolutely popping and look like they're going to get a lot of ownership to go with it. But that's a guy that, like, if he's not starting, I'm planning on getting way, way, way under the field on, versus a guy like Luke Kennard. Even if he doesn't start, that's somebody I'm going to have some interest in. So I do like the Clippers tonight. The guys I'm probably going to get a bit underweight on the field are Batum and Boston, just because Batum, he's going to be the first one that subs out in a blowout. And Boston, we haven't really seen him too much. And so Coffee, I don't mind getting the field too. I think he's a great cash game option. He's one of the first ones you plug in for cash. But he's also not the best point per minute guy. So I don't think he's that tough to fade tonight. The guy I probably do like the best, and ownership reflects it, but it does on all of these guys tonight, would be Luke Kennard. He's the one that I'd want to get the most over the field on tonight. And even guys like Terrence Mann, I don't mind. With Marcus Morris out, there's lots of rebounding to go around, and Mann is a guy that will pick up a lot of extra rebounds if he has those opportunities. So I don't mind them tonight. I like you said, building a rule where I'll probably go max 3. And then I'm probably going to try and be cognizant of, if I have 3 of these guys, I probably don't want Hartenstein with 2 of the starters. I'm probably only going to play Hartenstein, planning for this game them to get blown out and for him to play the entire fourth quarter, something like that. So yeah, I definitely like mixing and matching these guys tonight, but we're going to have to wait on the starting lineup to know who we really like. Muted, Dean.
I was coughing before, and thank you. How unprofessional of me. So you're talking about the ownership as far as the Clippers. This is the reason why we're talking about them. Biggest ownership right now, of course, this stuff is fluid, but on DK, 38% for Mann, 38% for Coffee, Boston at 35%, still a minimum 3K. We're projecting 28 minutes. Of course, if he starts, that might change. If he doesn't start, that might change. Nard Dog at 33% for Kennard. Batum, I agree with your assessment. Batum, probably my least favorite amongst all the Clipper options. And well, there's another thing. It's another point I want to bring up before I want to bring in Will as far as the Clippers. FanDuel, Batum at 38%. That's too high in my opinion. Then Boston at 25, Kennard at 28, Coffee's 27, Mann at 33. Will, what is your thoughts as far as the Clippers? I feel like you probably need at least one of these guys. Like at least one's going to get there and really smash and like 9 or 10 or 11x. But I was talking about this with TJ before the show. Like the Clippers are in the 8th spot right now in the playoffs, right? They're in the 8th spot, but they're essentially entrenched in that spot for the next 15 games till the end of the season. There's a chance they move, but they're 4 games behind Minnesota, who's the 7, and they're 4 games in front of the Lakers, who's the 9. And like the Lakers are winning like 5 games the rest of the way. Like how are they catching the Clippers? That's probably not happening. And, you know, I don't think Minnesota drastically falls back. So the Clippers are just going to be the 8th spot. And that's that. They know that. They've been coasting. And that's why it's going to be completely volatile, figuring out these Clippers. And things are going to be changing, you know, game by game. If they're forced to get a back out of a back-to-back. They're just they're waiting for the season to end, essentially, which is this weird thing where they're not giving up, but they just kind of are where they are. Your thoughts on that and your thoughts as far as the Clippers tonight?
Yeah, I mean, the Clippers are what I think what we would consider a necessary evil for this slate. You know, I'm always trying to identify who's the odd man out that we can get away from. The problem is they have 9 bodies, and you know, a fair amount of these guys may end up playing. So, like you talked about Hartenstein, while we have him projected for, and I'm going to use FanDuel projections here, 4.78%. At least currently where it is right now, you know, he could easily outscore all of these guys. Like that's what I think we're dealing with here. Hartenstein could outscore at a minimum Batum, Coffee, Kennard, and Mann. I don't think he outscores Zubac, but he could. It's possible. Brandon Boston could outscore Batum, Coffee, Kennard, and Mann. I don't think Rodney Hood or Semi Ojeleye are guys we need to worry about. So to me, it's all about those 7 guys: Mann, Kennard, Coffee, Batum, Zubac, Hartenstein, Boston. Out of that group, right, who are your 2 that you feel like are the must plays? For me, I feel like one of them is Terrence Mann. I feel probably best about his minutes over anybody's minutes. Like I think Terrence Mann gets 35 minutes no matter what, right? I don't think he's getting subbed out or is going to get sat down. The next man up, Luke Kennard's probably going to get his 30 minutes, but I feel like him, and I actually think Amir Coffey. So Mann, Kennard, and Coffey. I think those are the three safest plays for minutes. Batum can easily play 28 minutes, and Boston can play 28 minutes, and Hartenstein can play 28 minutes. Mann, Kennard, Coffey, I think they all get 35 plus. So, if you're asking me kind of where I want to build, Terrence Mann is one. He's the most expensive one, but I don't care. I think he's got, let me give it the second highest upside considering the situation. I do think Zubac has the highest upside on his team, presently constructed. I think Terrence Mann is 2, and then some combination of Hartenstein, Kennard 3, and Coffey and Batum 4. Like that's kind of how I have it. I know Batum can have splash games where if he's getting peripherals, 4 or 5 rebounds, 6 or 7 assists. Like I know that's inside of Nicholas Batum. I know that's something he can do, but I still think Mann is the number one play in terms of overall. I think Zubac has the most upside, but he's also the most expensive. And then behind that, Kennard and Coffey from a minutes perspective. The problem is they're all 25-30% owned, so it really won't matter. But if you're asking me where I want to plant my flag in terms of Clippers, Mann, Kennard, Coffey are the 3 that I feel the best about from a minutes perspective.
And I agree with that, especially on DK. On FanDuel, I view it a little bit different just because the price difference between Mann and Kennard is a lot bigger. It's instead of 600, it's 1,600. And so if Kennard ends up in that starting lineup, I absolutely love him tonight. But my other favorite play on the Clippers, I think, for tournaments is Hartenstein, just because he's got power forward availability on FanDuel, and he's projected to be the lowest owned of all of them. He's like, we're looking at him, it's like 10, maybe sub 10% right now. So if that's the case, like on slates that are this size, when the Clippers don't have crazy injuries, we see him end up being that high owned. So I definitely like Hartenstein tonight. And one more fun thing, just interesting, because we brought it up a little bit about the winker to the Mariners. Suarez was included in that deal as well. So
Eugenio Suarez?
Yeah.
I mean, listen.
Eugenio, hey?
I was going to let it go.
Suarez and Jesse Winker, both on the Mariners now.
Oh, my God.
9 Clippers available. I think if you have Hartenstein, you're kind of sort of somewhat banking on a blowout. Like he's going to, I assume he would be one of the mop-up guys. He's their best, fantasy point minute player on the season. Like that's including everybody. We're talking 1.24 fantasy points per minute. That's really strong. Of course, his minutes are, he could play 17 minutes. I think we're chopping him and Zubac as of right now, like 28 and 20. Boston, I ran a court IQ. We're spending a lot of time.
It's impossible. It's impossible to run a court IQ. You take off George, Leonard, Morris, Jackson, Covington, Powell. Your leading usage guys are DeMarcus Cousins, Lou Williams, Serge Ibaka, Eric Bledsoe. Like, it just doesn't work.
Well, I took off George, Morris, Jackson, Powell, Mann, and Ibaka. And like the minutes are, you have 31 minutes of Batum. What are you going to do with that? 8 minutes of Zubac. What do you do with that? So yeah, it's just tricky, but it is worth noting Brandon Boston has 166 minutes and he's got the biggest usage of 25.5%. On the season, Boston is, let's see, I'm trying to find his usage in the season. Yeah, 21%, which is fine. That's okay. And 0.84, 0.85 fantasy points, which again is okay. Obviously, you'd want him to start. Doesn't mean he can't get there if he's coming off the bench because he's got to play some. But we're spending a lot of time in this game because I think you got to kind of sort of get this right. Do you not agree, TJ? Like at least one Clipper is in the quote unquote optimal, GPP winning lineup. I think at least one's in it.
I agree. And I think just because these guys are all high owned from a tournament perspective, you really want to wait for this starting lineup and see how it looks. And if Boston is in it, he looks beautiful. If he's not, then that's where you want to maybe you're not going to get probably 30+% of him like it looks like we might if he is a starter, but you might look at pairing Boston and Hartenstein together, whereas you would pair Mann and Zubac together or Kennard and Zubac together, something like that. So you want to be a bit more cognizant of maybe pairing these guys who are going to get the ton of blowout run, like Hartenstein and Hartenstein and Boston together, and then pairing some of those starters together.
Yeah, I mean, they have 9 guys, and we're like the 8th guy is what Rodney Hood, and the 9th guy is like Semi Ojeleye. Those are guys that just you don't have to get Rodney Hood minutes either. Like that's not something you know what he is.
True.
At this point.
Ojeleye will probably get minutes, but he's not going to do much with them.
Yeah, I mean, we're projecting the fringe guys 18 and 15 minutes, which I guess that's probably a fair projection, and you can't really assume much beyond that. Well, as far as the Cavs, they're playing Cleveland. They are playing another team we haven't really acknowledged just yet. Cleveland again. LeVert may come back tonight. He's got that foot. He's questionable. Markkanen's got an ankle, so he's questionable. Dean Wade is questionable with his knee. What are your thoughts as far as Cleveland?
Well, I mean, Cleveland should essentially run away with this game. Now, here's what I will say: as bad as we feel like the Clippers are, for them to be an 8 seed with basically neither of their star players playing almost all season, it's actually really good. And I think shows, how good of a coach maybe Tyronn Lue is. I mean, would you agree with that assessment, Dean? I mean, he's pretty much the team you're looking at now, minus Reggie Jackson and Marcus Morris, is pretty much what he's had all season. And they're still essentially a playoff team. And the Lakers have stars. I mean, I can't say enough about what Tyronn Lue has done.
He should be getting Coach of the Year votes. It's going to go to Monty.
He really should.
But
we only got a 7.5 point.
Terrible.
We only got a 7.5 point spread here too, and there's 3 other games on the slate with bigger ones than that, including the one we're going to be talking about next. So
yeah. So, but I mean, the Clippers are the value in terms of Cleveland. I mean, they're pretty much about stat. If LeVert's back tonight, then I'm pretty much off Cleveland because they've got so many guys: Love, LeVert, Mobley, Wade, Markkanen, Okoro, Garland, Brandon Good. I mean, they've got everybody almost back except Jared Allen. I'm off Cleveland.
Yeah, I'm mostly off Cleveland, especially if LeVert's back. However, I will say if Markkanen is out, I'm definitely going to be taking shots on Kevin Love. And then if LeVert doesn't end up playing, if Markkanen is out as well, then all of a sudden these guys like Garland get more interesting, and maybe even a guy like Osman if he creeps into the starting lineup. But they're definitely not high value targets tonight.
Yeah. 2 of the bigger overachieving teams in the year, in my estimation, Cleveland and the Clippers. Like they probably shouldn't have their record as well as it is, and like we've talked about this multiple times. Like Kirk Dees last week about Lou, like just what he's doing with that terrible group of, I don't want to say terrible group of players, but they're all like when you're relying on Reggie Jackson and Marcus Morris as your main shooters and you have a winning record, it's kind of impressive. All right. Yeah. Let's move on. Let's talk about this matchup's going to be awesome, right? As long as Embiid doesn't back down. It's the back half of a back-to-back for Philadelphia. You never know. They might do something goofy. They've done it a couple times this year, but we should get the battle of the potential MVPs, Jokic versus Embiid, 224s. They have not played since 2019, by the way. 224 is the total. Denver is a 3-point dog here as far as Philly. Everybody's healthy. It is a back-to-back, so we might get something goofy again. Somebody might get pulled out at the last second. Denver, Aaron Gordon is questionable. Najee is questionable. But, the only one that really matters for Denver is Jokic. Well, TJ, what do you think? I assume Embiid plays here because kind of sort of has to. I know he played a bunch of minutes yesterday, but come on, he's not going to step away. He wants to play against Jokic, I would imagine. His ego won't allow him to not play.
And I mean, yeah, he wants to win MVP too, so he's going to be in there tonight. Yeah, it's interesting. Like, I actually find myself looking a bit more to Jokic tonight just because of the ownership difference between the two of them. But it's definitely going to be a fun battle between these guys tonight. Sorry, which of the 2 teams are we talking about first? I was looking at answering a question in chat here.
Go wherever you want to go with it, by all means. I'm looking at the ownership. I didn't think it would be that drastic. Embiid, we're seeing 9%, Jokic at 6% on DK. Is it drastic on FanDuel or it's about the same? Let's see.
On FanDuel, it's a little bit bigger, yeah.
Yeah, man, 24% for Embiid and 9% for Jokic. I know it's a 9-game slate, and we have Cat lurking as well too. I think it could secretly be like the best of the 3, possibly in tournaments. He's just going to annihilate Spurs. What's that?
I said no. He really could be.
Yeah, I think he's an awesome play, and I don't know what his ownership is. We'll get to him soon enough, but yeah, TJ, wherever you want to go with this, but I think this game is pretty clearly about the two centers and not much, Harden's there too, of course. Sure.
Agreed. Yeah. Like we're seeing super low ownership on Harden. So that's something I'm running 150 tonight. So that's something I'm looking to get a bit over the field on, is the 5 to 10% that we're looking at probably for Harden. Tobias Harris's price keeps going down, down, down. He finally had a good game last game. I didn't realize how early Slate walked yesterday. And so I accidentally had Tobias Harris in, which was a dummy lineup, and it ended up working okay.
There you go.
And so
always backload your dummy lineups, by the way, just as a heads up.
I know. I was planning on fixing it early enough. I just didn't realize how early the night walked.
Fair enough.
But
throwing that tip out.
He's an okay guy to get to, and now that he's in the below 6K over there on FanDuel, but it's really all about Jokic and Embiid. Other than the last guy I'm going to include in my player pool just to get a small amount of is Will Barton, especially if Aaron Gordon ends up out.
My only hiccup, besides the salary and lineup construction and all that, as far as Jokic, if you land up on Jokic, that's amazing. Like Embiid does an incredible job of getting his opponent in foul trouble. Hopefully the refs let them play. Like nobody wants to see these guys just like drawing fouls on each other. So hopefully they let them play. But that's my only kind of caution, I suppose. And Harden, of course, can draw a bunch of fouls as well. So two guys in Philadelphia can draw a ton of fouls. But yeah, Will, what are your thoughts here? Should be a fun game to watch from like a watchability perspective. From DFS, it's just mostly about the two big boys. What do you have for me?
Yeah, pretty much taking a fade on this game. Tobias at 5,900 is starting to get real tasty on FanDuel. And I think that's something I always like to look at when guys start getting a little bit cheaper to have some upside. So I do think it's time to start taking some shots on Tobias Harris. At 5,900, it's just time, right? He's a little bit too cheap, I think, for what his range of outcomes could be. So that's where I am there. But I think I'm just not going to play Embiid and Jokic tonight. And I'm going to live with those results. I don't mind taking a fade. Ownership isn't too high on FanDuel. There's a pretty big disparity, but I think I'm going to fade Embiid and Jokic. I'm not going to feel good about it all night, but I think it's the right call. I feel okay doing this. You've got access to a couple other mid-range centers that we can utilize. So I'm going to roll that route, and I think I'm more prepared to spend up on Giannis and Cat and DeJounte Murray. Like those are the guys I want to play tonight. So I can't play everybody. So I'm going to cut the cord with Embiid and Jokic, and I'm not telling you to do that. This is me telling you what I'm doing, and that's going to be my approach.
Yeah, the way I look at it too is if I'm playing cash or I'm running one lineup tonight, there are probably other guys I want to get to more. But at the same time, these ownership percentages are so small tonight that when I'm running 150 like I am, I just want to get over that because it's going to be so easy to with that amount of lineups.
Yeah, like they're probably not optimal plays. I've not looked at it. I guess I can pull it up and check. But like if our optimal stuff is almost definitely going to reflect what the ownership stuff is going to be. Like that's not a surprise. And if they're projected to be 5 or 10% owned, they're probably not popping up in optimals.
Right now, Embiid is in our FanDuel optimal.
Okay. I bet he's not. I bet you he's not in DK. Let's see. Maybe I'll be wrong. So in our DK optimal, it's interesting. Our most popular centers are Baisley, Capella, Nicholas Batum is a center these days, and then Embiid at 20%. I ran like 150 lineups. Maybe I got to do a refresh, but that's where I'm at right now. But and Jokic is in 2%, which is just wild. What I'll do sometimes with optimals, this is like how I kind of use them sometimes. I'll say, listen, I want to play Jokic, and that's that. I'll just throw Jokic in there and see what optimals look like with Jokic. That's just like I assume other people do that too. TJ, you do it sometimes, maybe, yes? Yeah. And then I'm not going to take the first one either. I like to use my brain a little bit, but they have a use for me as well. Shout out to
when I'm going one, what I like to do there is basically just like find who my core plays are, kind of like how Meansy has his there. I like to pick who mine are, and there's usually 3 or 4 of them, and then I'll fill in the optimal from that and kind of pick and go with what I like and dislike from there.
I do the same thing. Very similar. I was going to shout out to ESPN, by the way. They're doubleheader tonight. Denver at Philly, awesome game. And Milwaukee at Utah. That should be fun as well. So, if you don't have the
really good games.
Yeah, you should get a couple of fun games in ESPN tonight. Let's move on to game number 3. This might not be as fun. Portland, Atlanta, 229.5 is a total. Atlanta is a 13-point dog. Portland has basically one like really good professional basketball player, and then the rest are just whatever filler. Yeah. As far as the body parts, Portland, they're without a bunch of dudes still. Obviously, Winslow and Bledsoe, Lillard, Nurkic, Simons, Little. Atlanta. This is the important stuff. This just kind of changes. The absence of Danilo Gallinari hurts their wings to some degree, and of course, John Collins has both a finger and a foot. For that reason, he cannot.
They don't need either of those guys tonight to beat this JV basketball team.
Could John Collins can ball out there without a finger and a foot also. If they don't need it, there's no reason to push him. It is the back half of the back-to-back. And, Will, the tricky thing is, and I don't really have a hot take on this stuff, and I hope maybe you guys do, like SGA and Trae Young and DeJounte Murray, like, does one clearly stand out amongst the three for you? They're kind of similar priced. Back-to-back.
Take DeJounte or SGA over Trae Young tonight. Like Atlanta might be up by 40 points in the third quarter here. I'm not exaggerating. Like
you're assuming blowout, which you really can't blow out.
I know. Do you know? Okay, what off the top of your head, what do you think Trae Young's usage rate is this year without Collins and Danilo Gallinari on the court?
Set the over/under at 40.
It's under that. 40. It's 36. It's 36.3.
I shot too high.
And so, they might be up 40 in the third quarter, but it might be because the score is 100-60 and Trae had 40 in those 3 quarters.
Yeah. Oh, I totally agree. I don't disagree with that take at all. I mean, Trae had 33 yesterday, I think, in the first half, didn't he?
Yeah, something like that. And
so I don't disagree with that at all. We have
Dean Wade ruled out, Markkanen and LeVert in.
Okay.
Yeah, Dean Wade wasn't going to move the needle for me anyway. So
doesn't matter.
So that makes me with Markkanen and LeVert in, Cleveland is almost a scratch off for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
I like Mobley a little bit on DK. I think he's got a decent, but for the most part, I'm off that team. If you want to run back, I think he's the best possible. Of course, you can run back Garland as well. But and maybe Garland's a better run back on FanDuel if you're going to compare him versus Mobley. But the Mobley price on DK is okay. But all right, Atlanta, TJ, did you have a thought as far as that's kind of like SGA,
I think Young for me as well as Will. He's third, but it's not here, and here. It's here, and here. They're all really close together. And this Portland side as well is a lot more interesting on FanDuel than they are on DK. These prices on FanDuel have not been raised. And so we're still looking at Drew Eubanks as 4,300 power forward eligibility. Brandon Williams is still 5K. Josh Hart's price has gone up, but nowhere close to what it has on DK. It's still over 2K cheaper over on FanDuel.
Yeah.
Watford, I think, can even still remain in your player pool as he's below 6K. So these guys, I think, can still be in the pool because they have to play minutes just because there aren't that many guys there. But the guys like Josh Hart, who's a little bit more expensive, he's 6'5" there over on FanDuel. He's the type of guy I'm probably only going to play in lineups that I also have Trae Young. But I do like Trae a lot tonight because I think if they blow him out, it's going to be because of him. I think Bogdanovich is fine. Capella is fine, but I think he's also the first one you're going to lose in a blowout, and he could just lose minutes anyways. And then I think my favorite
for tournaments,
I do. That's what I was going to say.
Go ahead.
I'm gonna have a Kongu in my lineups because even if they don't blow him out, he's been getting minutes lately and he's been playing very well. So I definitely think he's a guy you can have in your pool. And the other player I like as a value tonight is DeAndre Hunter because he just gets a ton of minutes and he in ugly games he's one of these guys that thrives because he picks up lots of stocks and rebounds.
You got Hunter or Herter?
I got Hunter.
They're really, really close. Like they're 4.7 for Herter, 4.6 for Hunter. That's on DK. Herter is a little bit more expensive on FanDuel as well.
As far as DK, where you get the 3-point bonus, I think I might go Herter over Hunter, but on FanDuel, it's definitely Hunter over Herter for me.
Yeah, Kungwa's been a pretty strong fantasy point minute player, and like I think he plays a good bit if this game blows out. You have the chance of Capella, who's going to be fairly popular, getting in foul trouble. We saw that yesterday. We see it often. We've seen it before where Capella is just outplayed by Okongwu sometimes, where I think Okongwu even closed the first half yesterday. That might have been 3 fouls, though. I think that could have been 3 foul related. But he's over a fantasy point per minute on FanDuel for what it's worth, 0.98 at DK. Your rule about Hart, I don't know if I would have put that. I'm much because the FanDuel price is so good. I don't know if I feel like I have to play Young as a run back if I'm playing Hart, but on DK, if I'm for whatever reason playing Hart for 8-8, I would feel almost obligated to run it back with Young or at least maybe Capella and Herter or Capella and Hunter or something like that. Does that make sense?
Well, the reason I feel that way is just if you've watched what Hart has been doing with this G League Portland team is he just comes in and he fires up buckets of threes, and they're usually just real deep ones, and he's not super involved unless he's got the ball in his hands. And where you watch the last 2 games prior to last game, he was cold, and so he did absolutely nothing. Last game, he was wildly hot. He put up a 70 piece, so we know that ceiling's there. And I don't really want to chase those points, but if he's hot, that probably means they're keeping the game moderately close. And if he's hitting a ceiling, he's going to be needing to get over 30 plus minutes. And so if they keep this game close at all, and we get to project Trae Young for instead of 33, 34, 35 minutes, maybe 36, 37, 38, like he typically plays, Young might end up being the highest scorer on the slate. So it's less about, it's not that I think Hart can't succeed without Young succeeding. I think if Hart does succeed, Trae Young most likely will really succeed as well.
And Eubanks is 35% owned right now, currently on FanDuel. Where do you stand on that? You're running 150. Where do you think you're going to land on Drew Eubanks in a 9-game slate?
So as we go, I'm going to try and build out kind of a mock 150 here so that I can give a general analysis of where I'm at on everyone. But I'm assuming I'll probably be pretty close to the field there.
Yeah. I mean, it's not an hyperbole. It's not an exaggeration where like there's one rotation player an NBA rotation player on Portland, right? Like is that fair to say? It's just Josh Hart?
And like Eubanks has like close to 10x upside with this price. So like he's definitely tough for a guy to fade completely. And if you're playing cash games, he's a borderline lock.
That's I would say specific to FanDuel where he's 4-3 and 5.
Yeah, specifically on FanDuel where he's power forward eligibility. He's one of, and it's still not a lot because there's so many great power forward plays, but he's one of the better cash game power forward plays tonight.
Yeah, 1.02 FanDuel points per minute, 0.99 on DK for what it's worth. Will, you think this game's going to blow out? It sounded like. So I guess you don't really like anything. Portland's
not really.
Mess.
Not really. And I'm on all the unders on the Portland guys on Prize Picks for what it's worth. Fantasy points. And we got Josh Hart at 17.5. He scored 17.5 points more than once during this stretch with this bad team. Do you know which game that was, Dean? By chance?
Well, this weekend.
Absolutely. That's the only time he's been over 17.5. Other than that, 11, 10, 6, and 5. I am not buying Josh Hart is going to score more than 17 points today. So that's an under I'm going to be hammering. We've got him projected for 19.9 for what it's worth. I think that's too high. He's playing a competent team today, even though they're short a couple bodies. This team's not good. Listen, taking the under. So all in all, not playing anyone from Portland. And, we talked about Trae Young. He could absolutely torch them. And I think he could torch them in the assist department, right? Like Trae might have 10 assists at halftime. That's how bad this defense is going to be tonight. So that's where I am.
I think we're baking in that blowout a little bit. 32 minutes are hard. This game theoretically is close. I think he plays like 34, 35, 36. But yeah, I mean, it could get ugly fast. And we've seen it with this team, and we know how bad this Portland team is. Let's move on. Next up is Will, your Charlotte Hornets versus OKC. 230.5 is a total. Charlotte is an 11-point favorite there. They are fully healthy. Nothing really has changed. Well, whatever. Bouknight's out and Hayward's out, but that's been the story for a while. OKC is without a lot of dudes, and nothing's changing there either. Favor's still out. Wiggins still out. Muscala Dort, Ty Jerome, JRE, Giddey, Kenrich Williams. Looks like we're looking at 9 bodies on the OKC side. We kind of reference SGA, who's like, no matter what opponent you put in front of him, he's putting 30 burgers, actual points in the bucket, pretty much every single game with the exception of, was it Minnesota? That was rough, but otherwise, he has been awesome. He's the entire offense on OKC. And Charlotte's defense, while it has improved, it's not one you're running away from. Will, start with your Hornets or just general thoughts as far as this game.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the ones that's on the list, right? You know, you got 2 teams. I do expect the Hornets to win here, even though they're on the road. And I also still expect SGA to get his numbers. So, you know, in terms of the Hornets, especially on FanDuel, I feel like everyone is just appropriately priced. So I'm not really interested in playing anyone from the Hornets. SGA at 10K, I do think is interesting. So I am interested there. You know, don't hate, you know, Teo Maladon or Trey Mann. You know, if you think those guys are going to be there to have a little bit of upside tonight, they are playing the Hornets. Hornets are going to give up a barrage of threes. They're going to give up a barrage of rebounds. So that's kind of where I am. LaMelo Ball at 8,200 feels like it's starting to get a little bit too cheap, right? He has been 7,800 over the past week. Terry Rozier's been playing out of his mind mostly, which is why the price gap is so close now, and it's been warranted. You know, I think I'm probably more interested in Ball and Rozier overall. Miles Bridges has been okay. I mean, he's 7K. I don't hate it. Like, he's been under 7K most of the past week, I think. But mainly, I think if I'm going to play this game, it's SGA, little sprinkle these peripherals, but the run back with 2 or one of the Hornets guys. So SGA LaMelo, SGA Rozier, and kind of go from there.
I just kicked off Dort, Wiggins, and Giddey. You can't kick them all out for OKC, but those are the ones that matter the most.
Gotta catch them all, Pokemon.
What dog do we have there, TJ? What do we have? What are we looking at?
That's my guy, Obi-Wan.
Oh, wait, I feel like I know what inspired that name.
Yeah.
How old is Obi-Wan?
Yeah. We just rescued him this year. He's estimated about 4 years old.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. 37.4% usage for SGA. When you kick off Dort, you kick off Wiggins, you kick off Giddey. Again, he's the price keeps coming up, but he keeps justifying it. He's in that bucket against Murray. He's in that bucket against Young. And we talked about, you know, and ownership comes into play as well, obviously. And like, I think he's going to be, you know, we're looking at 17% on DK. We're looking at, as I jump over to my OKC page for FanDuel, 27%, 26% on FanDuel. Man, 10K over there. It's such like he's going to crush, right, TJ? Like, why wouldn't he crush? He's the guy.
Yeah, I really do think he's going to crush tonight. And over on FanDuel, like, that's why I think I'm not quite as high on a guy like Giannis tonight as Chief is even though I think he's going to crush. If you keep in the range of like Trey Young, DeJounte Murray, Gilgeous-Alexander, you can even get probably 4 studs in your lineup tonight. And so even with these 8K range of guys like Siakam and Mitchell, you can get 4 good studs in your lineup tonight over on FanDuel with the amount of value we have.
And how many Clippers with that lineup?
We'll see. I'll report back to you after I run these 150s. But I agree. Shai's one of my favorite plays on the slate. I like mixing in some Maladon and Man. I don't think I want to get more than max 2 of those guys in a lineup, but I really don't know if I'm going to want to get more than 1 in. And Baisley, strong play there in the mid 5K range. I have no issue with him, but I really don't mind going overweight on both Maladon and Shai. And just in most of the lineups I don't have Shai, putting Maladon in because that's kind of assuming that they get blown out and he ends up running the point guard with the blowout run.
By the way, I should have said 37.4% usage in the season for SGA with Dort, Wiggins, Giddey off the court. That's 286 minutes. It equates to 1.67 DK points per minute, which is just outrageous. On the season, SGA at 1.24, which is good. But 1.67 is just ludicrous. It's absurd. Just phenomenal. You mentioned Baisley. He's your fourth favorite, TJ, as far as the OKC guys when you consider everything.
He would be my third favorite. It would go Shai, Maladon, Baisley, and then Matt.
What do you have here, Will, as far as the OKC stuff?
Yeah, Shai, Maladon. Those are my top two.
All right. Anything else here, or shall we move on to talk about another awesome game, Minnesota and San Antonio?
Move it.
Move on to the next. Hit Chief first. I'm still listening, but I got a dog issue to tend to quick.
Oh, no worries. You're good. 241 is a total big old number. Minnesota, San Antonio. It's high and it's tight as well. Minnesota, just a 3.5 point favorite here versus the Spurs. We did talk about there are some body parts we got to monitor. Edwards expected to play for Minnesota, but Beverly's got an ear, so he's questionable. One of their bigs, Naz Reid, is questionable as well. We know Vanderbilt, another big, is out. McLaughlin's got a groin, so he's questionable. San Antonio, basically everybody expected back, with the exception of McDermott, who's still out, and KBD, who barely played last game anyway. I don't know if it was because he's injured. He's playing terribly, but he played like 5 minutes and none of which in the second half. San Antonio still has plenty of bodies, but yeah, Will, awesome game environment here. I alluded to it earlier, like maybe Cat is just the best center tonight. He's a little bit cheaper than Embiid and Jokic. I don't think he's going to be terribly popular. Where do you want to start? Because there's a lot of fantasy goodness here.
Yeah, I'm just going to start with the game in general and just how I want to attack it, Give me KAT, give me DJM, and let's start there. DeJounte Murray, Karl Anthony Towns on the other side. We could absolutely get these types of builds in tonight because of the value that we're going to have. And I'm really not interested in a whole lot of the peripheral pieces. Like Josh Richardson was okay when he was 3,700 on Saturday with all those guys out. Now he's 4,800 on FanDuel, I think. And I don't really care about Josh Richardson. DeJounte Murray, he needs to get at least 60 for us for it to pay off mostly, right? Like if he gets 60, you're going to feel really good about it. We've got him projected for 52. Newsflash, folks, this man has been over 50 fantasy points pretty much every game here recently. And I did, and so please forgive me, I meant to have those numbers up readily available, but I am pulling them up currently. Last 5 games, 54, 57, 56, 57, 54, 54.9 to be exact, 57.8, 56, 57.8, 54.8. And he absolutely has the ceiling for 60. So I like DeJounte Murray. This is a really good spot for him. And then Karl Anthony Towns on the other side. I mean, we've seen centers just, really kind of go to town here, literally with against the Spurs. And so Karl Anthony Towns should be able to take the Spurs to town. And what we're looking for is we just need the shot attempts to be there. I do hate the fact that when Anthony Edwards is back, his shot attempts are in the mid-teens. I prefer he get back up into that 19 to 20 shot attempt category. He is going to have peripheral, so he is going to have rebounds. You look at the last 5 games for him, double-digit rebounds, 15, 11, 13, 10. We're going to need something close to that for him to hit the ceiling. And then we're going to need him to get assists. Last game, no assists. They were playing Miami. I'm going to give him a pass. But previous games, 4-4, 1-5-3. Let's see if we can get the 4 assists tonight, a few blocks, a few steals. Ultimately, Dean, I really would like him to get 25 to 30 real points, 10 to 15 rebounds, 4 to 5 assists, a couple blocks and steals. And I think we're right at our target in terms of where we want to be. Love Karl Anthony Towns, love DeJounte Murray. And I think we kind of build it from there. D'Angelo Russell's another one at 7,200. I don't hate, right? He's got a 50 burger in him as well. But with all the guards, pretty much I think are going to be back. I'm more interested in Cat than anyone else.
Yeah, I echo everything that Chief just said. I'm on the same page there. I love DeJounte Towns, especially on FanDuel tonight, 9,500. Russell and Edwards in the mid 7Ks. I think both look good. The only guy I have a lot of interest in on San Antonio is Murray. I don't mind sprinkling in Pirtle and Vassell and a couple lineups in my 150, but they're definitely not targets. And Other than that, it's just going to really depend on these questionable players. Like if you get McLaughlin and Beverly out, all of a sudden Jalen Noel looks really good. Malik Beasley, even though he's priced up, looks a little bit better. D'Angelo Russell looks fantastic if all those other point guards are out. So definitely keep an eye on this news, but fire up Towns regardless.
10-game samples. Don't want to go too crazy over it, but these are two of the three fastest teams in the last 10 games in all basketball. OKC number 1, Minnesota, San Antonio 2-3. Inversely, Minnesota, best defensive team in the last 10 games, which I thought was kind of interesting. Again, sometimes you get too much from small samples or you can draw too much from it. Also, if they're without, well, they are without Vanderbilt, one of the better defenders, and maybe Beverly might not play as well. So, again, their defense could be weakened tonight. Hey, TJ, we have a projection on Jaden McDaniels, which I think it's a little ambitious. He's kind of popping a little bit. Where he have him draw on the start, and he's not a great fantasy point minute player on the season. 15% usage, 0.78 on FanDuel, which is fine, But as of right now, 20% ownership on FanDuel. Do you think you're going to get there?
Maybe not up to 20%. I think I will probably be closer on him in like the probably 5 to 10% range tonight. Like I think I'm still going to keep him on the pool, but I'm definitely not going to be getting to that number.
Yeah, that's just one of my thoughts. I think it looks a little bit hot to me as far as I could tell. Anything else that's worth focusing on here, TJ? You have a favorite play you want to kind of stress one more time before we move on?
Towns is the favorite one, and make sure you keep an eye on that Minnesota news. Spurs I don't love other than Murray. We did get a Clippers starting lineup. We got Point Terrence Mann tonight. We got Luke Kennard and Coffey in the starting lineup with Batum and Zubac. So pretty close to what we were expecting there. We didn't know if Boston was going to get in there or not. So fire up Mann and Kennard tonight. They look really good. And then mix in some blowout Boston and Hartenstein stacks as well, I think.
So you think you might put in a rule, Hartenstein and Boston together is a good idea in theory, if you want to bank on a potential blowout.
Yeah, so it's not a bad rule. I don't think I'm going to do that. I think I'm just going to be going through my lineups and trying to be cognizant of mixing those two together a bit more often. And then I'll put a rule of only 2 man, Boston, Kennard, Coffey.
All right. Chicago, Sacramento, another total that's very appealing. Chicago's a 4-point favorite in Sacramento. 235 is the number. It's a big boy number. A little bit tricky because we don't know about Zach LaVine. Zach LaVine's dealing with the knee. This feels like a game where you might not necessarily need him. Sacramento's pretty rough. Domantas Sabonis expected back tonight from he had a suspension and he had a personal issue as well. Jeremy Lamb is not playing basketball tonight. Justin Holiday, I believe, is questionable. I think I want to say he may have missed shoot around. Don't quote me on that, but I feel like I read that earlier today. Nonetheless, well, Will, I'll throw this to you. Feel free to start whichever side you want to start on. Fox has been amazing of late, for what it's worth. He's been really, really awesome. Chicago's defense, 2 bad defenses. Chicago's defense did get a little better, a little bit of a reprieve in the presence of Alex Caruso is now back. I'm not a defense I would run away from anymore, but they're not as vulnerable, I would say. But the Bulls, they would become more appealing if LaVine doesn't play. Of course, this game's at 10 o'clock, which just the overall nature of the slate's pretty interesting because you have 4 games at 10 o'clock, which is why I'm not as freaking out as much about LeBron being questionable. There are pivot options if we need it. If you're on LeBron, what do you have here, Will, as far as Chicago, Sacramento?
Yeah, this should be a good game on paper and in real life. I do think the LaVine news is pivotal. If LaVine sits, then I think DeRozan, wow. He's going to be a great play. Under 10K, I feel like he's almost guaranteed to go for 55 tonight. If you know what I'm saying? Like he's had these games when LaVine's played. So really would like DeRozan. I'd also be a lot more interested in Nikola Vucevic as well. He's 7,800 on FanDuel. And he'll have a few more opportunities to score a little bit. A guy like Javonte Green may creep into the conversation. I know Kobe White had a good game the other night, and I think at 5,300, he's viable as well if LaVine sits. So those are the guys that I like a lot. I can't say enough about De'Aaron Fox and how well he's been playing with, Tyrese Halliburton in Indiana out of the building. And his assist props have been coming in on Prize Picks at 5.5 every day, and they bump it throughout the day, but I think he's at 6 now. I'm willing to take the over on that. So if you guys are in the props, I try to plug in a few here and there as we go along. Do like De'Aaron Fox over 6 assists tonight. He's been fantastic. And he's my number one play from the Sacramento Kings. Not as interested in anyone else. Domantas Sabonis has been fine. 8,600 is very reasonable for a guy that's been 9K plus most of the year. So I don't hate that on FanDuel as well. I mean, we got him projected for around 15%. That's very good ownership, I think, and right in line with where he should be at that price on this slate.
TJ?
Ditto to what Chief said there. I'm on the same page. And guys like Zach LaVine for the Bulls, and in a bit later we're gonna get to Toronto, but Fred VanVleet in that game, those are two players that really made me want to run 150 tonight, because they both have Q tags. No one is going to play them. They're both in fantastic game environments and could put up 50 pieces with mid 7K price tags. So I like when there's also lots of swaptions with Levine, Van Vliet, Westbrook, Chris Middleton, Klay Thompson, all in that range. So there's lots of easy switches, even if you don't have lots of open lineup positions. So that was one of the reasons I really like playing lots of lineups tonight, is to be able to get a guy like Levine. And then if he's out, I like taking some shots on Dosunmu. I like DeRozan even more. That's another one of those quote unquote studs tonight that has a big price discount on some of the other ones. So I like the Bulls quite a bit. And yeah, Vooch, the same thing. If he's only going to be 10% owned tonight, I absolutely love him for tournaments, because he's fine if Levine plays, and he's one of the very best options if he doesn't.
Yeah, that's how I felt about DeRozan. DeRozan's fine if Levine plays, but like the ceiling obviously is opened up if we lose Levine. If you see Levine in, would you be looking to move away from those guys, or are you just going to keep it? It just sort of depends. Depends on what else news falls, I suppose.
I'm not blowing anything up, but if I have some spots available, I'll look to mix and match.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. Still 3 more games. Do want to make sure to get your questions in from chat. You guys are watching us on YouTube. Like, where is the chat at? Hey, join us, rotogrinders.com/Discord. Where do you go from there? You go to the live stream chat channel. That is a free channel. Non-premium. There are some premium channels. That one does not happen to be. Another non-premium channel, you guys can say hello to Chief in the prop shop. Speaking of, talking the props, talking prize picks, underdog, things like that. Very fun. He's got a very fun chat there. And everybody, again, it's the joint sweats. Everybody's rooting for the same thing there. All right. Thank you there in the chat. I see in our live stream chat, that is correct, that Justin Holiday did miss shoot-arounds. He does remain questionable. Producer Devin, producer Eli, all of that. Yes.
If he's out, I think you like, and this is again more of an MME type thing, I think you could take shots on DiVincenzo and or Davion Mitchell. I think those are two guys that like you just mix in a small percentage to get a little bit different. And hey, if they outscore Amir Coffey tonight, you're in a great spot.
Yeah, I don't hate the idea of DiVincenzo. I like him a little bit. And again, under the qualifier that Holiday is out. We presume Holiday right now is going to be the starter. And if you guys have any questions, you want us to elaborate on something, you're thinking of a 2v2, you have an overarching slate question, how many Clippers, whatever's on your mind, fire it off. Join the conversation, rotogrinders.com/Discord, live stream chat channel. And every once in a while, usually like a Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, producer Devin is lurking and he gives away a week free of RG Premium. Sometimes that happens, sometimes it doesn't. There's a bot to click. Maybe if the bot's making an appearance, click that bot and you get yourself in the running there for 1 week free of RG Premium. All the sports with baseball around the corner. Well, it wouldn't be a week away, but you know what I mean. All the sports with the exception of NASCAR. Also, if you guys are playing on FanDuel tonight, the single entry series starts once again with the $1 version, the dribbler. I'm not allowed to play that. I'm capped at but if you can have at it, added value, obviously that contest. I
didn't even know that was a thing until I got blocked out of it this year. I was very sad.
It's a humble brag. Look, you won too much money.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got to move up to 3 or something like that. I think that's kind of where I move the cursor every single time. Can I just permanently get that move to $3 on FanDuel? It would save me 15, 20 seconds a day.
I wish it was just they made it 2 and below, because like the 222 contests are always really good. And like there's so many good $2 contests. I'm fine being removed from the one, but there's some great $2 contests I'd love to be in.
Yeah, well, I don't know anything about it. We don't know anything about it. Will's won too much. I assume Will's blocked probably on some of those.
Oh yeah, I've been blocked since I got years.
That's why Will's laughing at us. He's like, I've been doing this for years. Like I haven't had $2 contests since 2017.
He can't play in the $3 contest probably.
I don't think I can. I mean, I don't know. Like I just quit going down.
He's like, he doesn't even know if he can because he's not even looking at those. His cap's the $50 contest.
No.
Milwaukee's in Utah, back half of the ESPN doubleheader tonight. 232.5 is a total. It's high and it's tight. Utah 2.5 point favorite. 232 number. It's a big old number because these two teams, I don't want to say they're defensive frauds, but they're not as good as you may think they are. They're not as good as their name suggests defensively this season. We are getting Brook Lopez back tonight with his back. I wouldn't imagine he plays a lot, but the slight ticks around. As far as Utah, we're expecting Gobert to give it a go. He's like probable at this point with his foot. Bogdan Bogdanovic is to be determined. He is questionable with his calf. Not that important, but Trent Forrest also has a wrist, so he is questionable. I mean, here's another stud in the slate here, TJ. There's Giannis Antetokounmpo. We've talked about, a lot of studs. It's a 9-gamer, obviously. We talked about Jokic. We talked about Embiid, the stud point guards, and Murray, and SGA, and Young. Where is Giannis for you? Because I don't think he's on the podium for most people.
I think objectively he is the best stud on the slate, but yeah, he's tough to get a ton of tonight. Having said that, with him being only like 20% owned type of thing, I definitely don't think I'm going to be underweight on him. I think that number is right. Like 20 to 30% Giannis tonight is where I think I'm going to be ending up. I don't really want to let him make or break my slate because we know what he is. I have no doubt that if as long as this game stays close, which it should, he's probably going to have 60 to 65 fantasy points tonight. It's just the thing is I think we may also get that from Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Trae Young and a few of these other guys. So I do like Giannis tonight. It's just some of these guys who are $1,000 to $2,000 cheaper, I see similar ceilings for. Having said that, he's the only buck I'm playing tonight.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at too. And what are we actually projecting as far as minutes for Lopez? It can't be much at 10, right?
Like the only way I end up with another buck tonight is I may end up with some Chris Middleton. If we get Van Vliet and Zach LaVine ruled out, then I got to make some adjustments.
Yeah, well, you got to get some like Scotty Barnes and Pascal Siakam stuff, things like that as well too. But yeah,
I meant to tell you guys. Sorry, I know we're already past this game. Please forgive me, guys. You can find any Trae Young double props out there tonight. Just go ahead and take them because he's going to score at least 10 points. And I think he's going to get at least 10 assists. Like I like the Trae Young double props for what it's worth.
All right. How about what are your thoughts here, Will? Because I think it's mostly Giannis or bust. And you were talking about the ownership stuff. He's going to be just easier to roster on FanDuel, just the way lineup construction works, salary works, and all that kind of stuff. Giannis right now at 8% projected on DK. On FanDuel, I think he's close to 20. I'm checking it right now. Yeah, he's 18, 19% on FanDuel.
The other thing I can tell you is I'm going to end up getting a lot more Giannis tonight if LeBron James ends up ruled out.
Yes, that makes a lot of sense.
Because we'll probably get that news before that game at 10 o'clock starts. They're pretty good at updating LeBron James early enough in the evening. So I'm looking to probably have about 20% to 30% of both Giannis and LeBron tonight. And so if we end up getting LeBron out, I'm going to end up probably with like the 40 to 45% of Giannis.
Are you putting into your scripts? LeBron is 11-2, Giannis is 11-6 on FanDuel. Are you putting into your script, if I'm getting LeBron, you got to save $400 somehow?
I'm going to be honest. I don't even know how to do that on Lineup HQ.
Okay.
So no, that's not, I'm not planning on doing it.
That would be helpful in theory, but yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know if there's a way to do that either, to be honest. I can't say. because I'm not somebody that runs a bunch of lineups typically. Will, what do you have as far as this game?
Giannis, that's it.
What about Mike Conley? Like Mike Conley's terrible. He's
I'm not doing it.
He's 5-1 on FanDuel and getting 20%. Like, but when is Mike Conley?
I'm not playing Mike Conley.
So yeah, I'm out on Mike Conley, but I do really like Donovan Mitchell tonight. 8-1 on FanDuel. He's one of those 8K studs that I really like tonight.
I like that call. Yeah. We're seeing 20% ownership on Conley at 5-1. And like, what's a ceiling game look like for Mike Conley?
30 fantasy points.
Have we seen it this year?
We have, but Donovan Mitchell was out.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that sounds about right. I agree.
That's
with
things like he might hit quote unquote value, but like the other guys he's competing with in that range tonight even on FanDuel, if we pull up the point guard position and we look at 5K, Brandon Williams, I definitely would rather get to. And the ownership isn't even that much different. And even we didn't talk about him really last game, but if Zach LaVine's out, Alex Caruso played 21 minutes last game and put up over 30 fantasy points. So like there are other guys in this range, Patrick Beverley, if he plays, that I like more than Conley, but especially Brandon Williams.
Oh, also in this game, get on this now before they start bumping it up to 16, 17. But I would be on some Grayson Allen points, rebounds, assists action. We're getting him at 13.5. I would take the over. Last 5 games, I think he's averaging around 17. Let me make sure. 16.4, excuse me. 18, 19, 17, 11, and 17. Grayson Allen, 13.5. Yeah, 13.5 points, rebounds, assists. I think is a touch too low when he's scoring about 12 points recently per game. That's a tasty one that I think the books are off on.
Well, what's revenge like for Grace? He's a jerk, like no matter who you are. Like, and now if he's vengeful against Utah, man.
And then never mind. I'll go ahead and tell you that Steph Curry's birthday is today. I got that one from the prop shop. So that this isn't my information. It is public information, but the prop shop put it out there, and we're getting him at 23.5 on the books tonight. I gotta think he scores at least 25 on his birthday. Look, it's his birthday. 23.5. I'm taking the over.
I think that's
make sure we let Andy Meansy know on crunch time that it's Steph Curry's birthday, and we got to project that into his 3-point prop, his points prop. He's getting over 25.
I'm just glad you put the qualifier on it for like prize picks and things of that sort, because I've been screaming this one all year long that Steph Curry has been the most overpriced stud the entire season. I continue to believe that. Of course, he can have that game where he puts 50 points in the actual bucket, but if that happens, I'm just going to lose. I'll take my L and I'll move on.
Draymond Green's supposed to be back tonight, isn't he?
He is.
Steph's scoring is about to go up. I'm telling you that right now.
Agreed.
Dean, over under 28.5 tonight. See, I'm not even being unreasonable. I'm not going like 31. Over under 28.5. What you got?
It's funny because I was looking at Steph and Draymond on the court together this year, and Curry's usage goes down a little bit, which was kind of surprising.
No, but it's not about the use. I'm saying his scoring numbers, though. He's basically going to be running off screens now. Draymond's just going to sit there and pass it to him. He's wide open. He's going to hit it and run back and do the Curry shimmy.
Yeah, his points have gone down as well. Yeah, maybe if you extend it back to last year, because
but Clay's back. I'm going to give it a pass.
But I agree with your thought process. I like the thought process. I like the premise. But I was surprised just because I was looking at it too. I was surprised to see. I'm like, oh, this should actually help Steph.
All right, I'm making a prize pick ticket right now, and I'm picking over 23.5 points.
I like that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's what I was trying to say, though, Dean.
I know. And I said I agree. I said I like that you made a point to say you like him for prize picks, and you weren't necessarily saying for DFS. I'm pulling up our stuff on the fly and scores and odds. By the way, if you guys are playing some March Madness, scores and odds, that's a place to go. It's a good time to get in over there. Of course, there's picks from all of us, I think.
Speaking of that, I need to put this Grayson Allen on scores and odds. This is
it's not good enough for scores and odds.
Okay, you say that, but this is a late afternoon, tasty express power pack pick. Okay, I'm telling you.
I just
I'm telling you.
Now. Or Steph Curry, our projection tonight for what it's worth is 25.6 points.
Oh, they're not giving us Grayson Allen. God.
So yeah, at 23.5 is the over under on, I'm not sure what book that is, but it's minus 135 on Prize Picks. You get it, better odds than that. So that's probably a good place to hit that. 225 is the total for us. Golden State versus Washington. We are getting Draymond back. Washington's getting back Porzingis. I don't like this game basically at all. Wiggins, for what it's worth, is questionable with an illness. But TJ, I'm not seeing a lot of ownership here, and I think that's justified. Golden State gets a little bit more cluster with Green. Porter should be available as well. Yes, Peyton's out. Yes, Iguodala's out, but they have so many bodies. And Porzingis playing, change my mind. I don't love this game.
Yeah, I don't love the game either, but all I'm going to really have to do to change your mind is just tell you on FanDuel, Steph Curry's 9,400 and 2% projected ownership right now. His median projection is not on the level of the other guys in this price tier. I get that, especially with all of these players there. But if we're talking about tournament winning upside, we're trying to get first place in that tournament. Steph Curry can hit 12, 13 threes in any NBA game, if it's a good matchup or not. This is a good matchup. Like Will said, it's his birthday, just a little added bonus. And the biggest caveat there is 2% ownership. And I'm not saying lock in Steph Curry tonight. He's the best pay up option. Absolutely not. But if you're trying to win a tournament, especially if you're playing more than one lineup, that's a really easy number to get over the field on. And if he happens to shoot like Steph Curry, he can absolutely win you a tournament. Same situation for Klay Thompson. We're projecting him at 1% ownership, 6,900 on FanDuel. What is he over on DK today?
Klay Thompson
78. So I'm not on DK. These guys aren't near as appealing as they are on FanDuel. On like guy like Kevon Looney, I'm not touching now that Draymond's back. But Curry and Thompson on FanDuel, they still have very high ceilings and they're getting no ownership. So I still like them quite a bit.
Yeah. My only counter to that is I think that ownership's justified because Murray and SGA and Young have all been distinctly better than Curry this year. But you're right. Like nobody's been playing.
They have been distinctly
weird. Yeah,
they have been distinctly better, but like each of those guys individually, and that's not even accounting for all of them have higher ownership, but like if we're looking at 2% Steph Curry right now, if Cheyenne's up 30+% on FanDuel, he's not going to be outscoring him in 15 to 20 games in this situation. So like,
correct.
Yeah. Not a lock in, not a cash game play, not a single entry play. But if you're running lots of lineups, definitely get over the field on Steph Curry tonight.
If you were to eyeball it, like what would you guess right now? And I understand there's a billion factors before lock and all that kind of stuff. A lot of guys are questionable, but where do you think you land in your 150? Like 5, maybe 10% of Curry?
Minimum 5, maximum 10. I want to at bare minimum get double the field there. But at maximum, I wouldn't want to go 10 because like we said, it's not optimal. There are better options tonight.
That's kind of where I would be too. Like I'm not arguing against it, but I just think like the ownership's kind of sort of justified, but at the same time, it's still Steph Curry. It's still his birthday. It's still Washington. Will, we gotta talk about Toronto and the Lakers. Is there anything you want to add as far as Washington Golden State?
No, not at all. Like I said, it's an okay game, but I think I'm just going to take a wait and see approach with the new look, old look Warriors with Draymond back and just kind of see how things go. I'm not really worried about Kuzma. Golden State has proven to be a fairly okay defensive team. So let's talk about the tasty matchup of the night that's going to close us out here. 10:30.
Yeah,
God, can Fred VanVleet please sit? Please.
225 is the total. Toronto is a 5-point favorite versus the Lakers, who are horrendous. LeBron's incredible. He's questionable. FEV, like you said, is questionable too. We will, I presume, have news on all this stuff before 10 o'clock, so you can probably pivot amongst the 4 games if you need to. But Will, what do you think happens if FEV sits? All of a sudden, are you boosting up your interest in Pascal and Barnes?
Yes.
Yeah, Trent, what are your thoughts there?
Hit me here first,
Barnes,
Dean, because we got a special feature here.
Oh, is this the thing? Is this the deal?
We're back. We back. Devin remembered early enough. We got a graphic and everything. We're back.
Oh, well, okay. Well, should I throw it to you first before I
Yeah,
throw it to
please,
Will?
sure, please.
Yeah,
Listen,
yeah,
man,
hit me here. And
I'm doing company stuff, man. Scores and odds. Get over there. I'm posting some fire right now.
By fire, you mean Grayson Allen?
Yep.
Oh, that's not all right. TJ, what do you have for me?
Okay, so we are back. It took a small hiatus, but we are back with the superhero play of the day. When your lineup is back against the wall, you need saving. You need somebody to come in and help you. This player is going to save your lineup from the late night hammer and help you either get to the finish that tournament on top or just squeak ahead of that min cash line. So as everybody knows, I'm a big superhero fan. I host the Agents of Fandom podcast. Check it out. It's great. And today's superhero play of the day, the one who will save us, Pascal Siakam from the Toronto Raptors. I love him so much, especially on FanDuel. He's the reason why I'm not overly high on Giannis Antetokounmpo tonight. And that's because you can get 4 quote unquote studs over on FanDuel. If you look at these 8 to 9K guys, for example, Pascal Siakam, and he's my favorite of the bunch. If Van Vliet doesn't play, he's one of the very best options of the slate. He's got a high ceiling. He had been playing poorly, and now he's been back to playing well. And we're still looking at sub 20% ownership on him. Pascal Siakam's the superhero play of the day. And I also love Fred VanVleet if he ends up playing.
Yeah, I was going to say he's got a pretty good price when you consider he's facing the Lakers as well. And as of now, I guess he's in your script. And of course, if he's not, you'll have to kick him out and adjust. What about the Lakers? It's LeBron and basically, I mean, I think it's basically LeBron. And if he doesn't play, there's some uses to go around. I'll throw that to you though, TJ. What do you do with the Lakers tonight?
Yeah, LeBron is really the only option I'm going to be actively looking for. If we don't get the VanVleet news till late, what's nice is we have the exact same price Russell Westbrook on the other side. So I don't love Westbrook tonight, but he's definitely not the worst option as a direct swap when you don't have many options tonight. So I don't mind that over on FanDuel. Early on, before I saw how much value on the slate, I got tempted to just slightly take a peek at DJ Augustine in like 1 or 2 lineups, just because as a Raptor fan, I have seen that dude just absolutely slice them apart in the first round of so many playoff series. So I was thinking about that, but there's just too much value on today's slate. So LeBron is the top option on LA. Westbrook is a great swaption if you get Fred VanVleet out, but for me, it's mostly about the Raptors tonight. VanVleet and Siakam, if VanVleet's in. If VanVleet is out, all the fire ups, Barnes and Gary Trent, they look fantastic. And those guys are fine, especially Barnes, even if he plays.
Will?
I mean, so many good options here, but I really want VanVleet to sit, because if VanVleet sits, I'm actually fine running Scotty, Trent, and Pascal all in the same lineup. The Lakers have been awful. I've talked about point guards against the Lakers all season, and I'm not sure if you've been tracking this. You just go back and look at the numbers for yourself. Most point guards in the NBA are having the Lakers for lunch. Scotty Barnes will be at the point guard position tonight at 7,600. It's probably another 45 to 50-point bomb incoming if he's going to get Russell Westbrook Matador defense. Love this spot. LeBron in his old age is not playing defense as well anymore. They think they have a switch that they can turn on and off, and LeBron pretty much has an off switch on defense. He's gone back to what he was when the Lakers didn't have anyone. And so at any rate, and that's not an indictment on LeBron. He's older. He needs to conserve his energy for offense. Great. That's why teams can just run the score up on them. I love the Toronto Raptors from a tournament perspective. I would be trying to just get in Scotty Barnes, Trent, and Pascal now and just start building those lineups. LeBron can still go off for 60, but I love Barnes, Trent, Siakam. Those guys should be big time in play. What I would do also in the prop game, you have to have some cojones for this. Go ahead and start speculating now. If you think Fred VanVleet's going to be out, hop on the lower number for these Toronto props, because they're only going to go up if these guys get ruled out. So if you're looking right now, and I know we got to close this thing out, let's say you're looking at points, right? And I just want to see where Gary Trent is, if he's even on the board. He's at 19 and a half. If Fred VanVleet is out, he's probably going up to 21 and a half. Siakam's at 22 and a half already because it's the Lakers. He's probably going up to 23 and a half. A point difference I don't think is going to make a big deal in this spot. But still, let's get the lowest numbers we can and hammer the overs against a really porous Swiss cheese Lakers defense.
If you pull up our defense versus archetype tool, which is like, teams against point guards, not all point guards are the same. Teams against centers, not all centers are the same. A guy like Jokic plays distinctly different than a guy like Capella. But if you call a player a combo guard, which is what we have Scotty Barnes and FEV labeled as, it's the absolute best matchup in all of basketball this season, combo guards versus the Lakers. TJ, they want to know, were you talking about the Clippers on FanDuel or DraftKings at the top of the show? I believe you're focusing mostly at FanDuel.
Yeah, for the most part, we've kind of switched off tidbits to make remarks, but for the most part, I've focused on FanDuel and Chiefs focused on DK, I think. But correct me if I'm wrong, Chief. I don't want to speak for you there.
Yeah, I've tried to handle FanDuel today mostly. Yep.
Yeah. So TJ,
they were heavy FanDuel today, but yeah, I was talking about
TJ, if you could take one of these Clippers out on a single entry DK tournament, you take one of them off the court. Is it Kennard? Is it Coffee? Or is it Mann? Who's your least favorite amongst those three on DK?
Coffee.
If you had to pick one on DK, Bobby Portis, Eubanks, or Capella, I think Portis gets a slight tick with Lopez being back. Maybe not. Maybe a minute or so. But yeah, I think it's Capella amongst those three, Will, on DK, Eubanks, Portis, or Capella. What's your preference?
Capella.
Let's see. Can we do anything with the FEV news? Well, we can kind of make dummy lineups and sort of wait, but do you agree with that? I assume you're on board there, TJ, as far as Scotty getting catapulted to some degree. If FEV, the price has jumped up, but running point being a combo guard against the Lakers is certainly a plethora of fantasy points waiting for you. I assume you feel good about Barnes if FEV sits out.
Yeah, him and Trent and Siakam, like all three of them, absolutely love if FEV is out.
Ransom Optimals, very first one on DK, only has 3 Clippers for what it's worth. That's kind of surprising. Next one has 4. Embiid is in one of them, SGA and Murray together in another one. And you mentioned TJ on FanDuel. You can get SGA, Giannis, and Embiid in the same lineup. Not that hard to make that happen. And then you were talking about 3, possibly 4 studs tonight. Is that what you're looking at as far as your builds?
Yeah, I'm really looking at getting 3 in like that 10K range, and then somebody like a Siakam or a Mitchell as my 4th.
Final thoughts here, Will, before we step aside and make way for Crunch Time, the premium show at rotogrinders.com.
Yeah, do not get away from, and I say this all the time, get away from all of the nuggets that you uncovered throughout the day when all the late breaking news comes out, right? Late breaking news comes out, and then we kind of shift our thought process and we start picking up those players. Oh, Porzingis is out. I've got to play Kuzma now, when all along you were on Domantas Sabonis, as an example. So don't get away from all the nuggets you uncovered throughout the day. Utilize the news to your advantage, but still stick to your guns. If your research led you somewhere, please play the guys that jumped off the page at you.
Chris Dunn available to make his debut tonight for Portland. I'm not sure how much that would hurt a guy like Williams or if he would play the blowout role, just throwing it out there. TJ, if you have a thought on that, maybe it's a nothing burger, or just your general thoughts as far as the slate, maybe somebody you're going to be way over. What do we have before you step aside and make way for crunch time?
Yeah, that'll most likely be a nothing unless we get some type of news on his minutes, just because he is a guy who is a very good fantasy point per minute guy. So if he gets some decent minutes and we're just ready to go, that obviously helps him and significantly hurts Brandon Williams. It's a really fun slate. Make sure you're ready to be up to date on the news and be cognizant of the players you're playing for each team. Don't fire in 4 Clippers to every lineup expecting them to all hit ceilings. They're all really good projected plays, but probably only 2 of them are going to get there. So make sure you are mixing and matching throughout and thinking of some game scripts when you're building your lineups.
All right. Do appreciate y'all watching us on YouTube. Hit that like button. Do subscribe. Do turn on notifications. That was Will. Check him out in the prop shop. That was TJ. Check him out on the Agents of Fandom podcast. Is that
There
correct?
you go. Agents of
All right.
Fandom podcast.
For Obi-Wan as well, for producer Devin, for producer Eli. That was basketball. I was Dean. Good luck tonight. Take down some money. We're out of here. Oh!